Ready? We're live. Bill Meltzer, Jason Martinez. We've got the NHL Draft going on as we speak. We are getting what here? Pick 5, Bill?
Yeah, up to pick 5. Yep, Montreal Canadiens.
All right, here we go. This is the Montreal Canadiens picking.
Here's
Let's see who they take.
I'd like to start by congratulating the Vegas Golden Knights. Also like to wish David Poile all the best in retirement.
All right, let's get to the pick.
J'aimerais saluer nos partisans à Montréal et autour du monde.
Thank everybody.
On apprécie votre passion.
I'm Clarky.
To make our selection, I will invite up our former 5th overall in 2005, Carey Price.
All right. It's like Carey Price will make the selection.
Bonsoir. Le Canadiens de Montréal are proud to select David
Reinbacher.
Well, don't feel bad. They forgot Claude Giroux's name too.
We planned it that way. David Reinbacher.
Yeah, there we go. All right. David Reinbacher is the Montreal Canadiens. We talked about this. There's Brian Smith too, by the way. We talked about this 1,000 times. And, you know, one of the deals is, are you going to take the 5th best forward, or are you going to take the top ranked dude, the right shot? We're getting a lot of feedback from you. Let's see when you Smitty. I think we're getting a lot of feedback from Brian's feed. I'll just text him that. Bill, what do you think of the pick with Reinbacher?
Well, I mean, honestly, that pretty much guarantees the Flyers are picking a forward here. Reinbacher's a big, tall, right-handed defenseman, good defender, good skater. Everybody looks for the right hand, big guys who can skate as defensemen, especially if they're right-handed. The only question mark about him is how much offense you're going to get out of him. He hasn't shown much of that yet. If the offense comes with it too, then you got a number 1 defenseman. But that part's a projection. But that's the guy who's probably going to at least be a top 3 guy in the NHL. I'm sure the Flyers had some interest in him too. But now it's going to be Michkov, Leonard, Dvorsky. It's going to be probably what we'll see who goes with the next pick here to Arizona. But but 2 of those guys are going to be there for the Flyers.
Bill, Arizona is a team that apparently wants to compete more. They're doing everything they can to stay in Arizona. And for them to have the best chance of doing that, part of the equation there is starting to have a little bit of success on the ice. I mean, they're playing in a college stadium with, it's awful optics, what they're playing in front of. Yeah. And what they're kicking into the pool, the kitty of money that they have to chop up around. It's an embarrassment. And, they're a team that needs to compete. Are they a team that's going to shy away from Michkov here?
Well, any which way I don't think whether it's Leonard or Dvorsky or Michkov. Well, Michkov, it's going to be at least 3 years. But none of those guys are going to come right to the NHL.
Leonard could come at the end of this year after the collegiate season, though, in BC.
Which is possible. Yeah, that certainly is possible. So that's something to consider. But I think every team has to approach it as to who's going to be the best guy in 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. I think that's the way you draft. Generally, particularly, I don't think that. Maybe Michkov has the curiosity factor there, but you're getting these are like Bedard would sell tickets. People have heard about Bedard. Even non-hockey outlets talk about Connor Bedard. I think that I don't think that's going to influence it necessarily. And it looks like there's a great atmosphere in that tiny little building they play in, but just the optics of playing into just a small building. So I don't I don't know how much whoever they pick is going to influence that, but in terms of being competitive and whatever, I mean, I think the Coyotes do want to think about in some regard, like how long are they waiting on somebody, because they have pieces in place. You also have the always have the clock ticking too on how long till guys maybe free agents, maybe want out, and I mean that's a piece of it too. People want to see some kind of commitment to winning, right? And players want to see that. So I don't know how much that's gonna influence it, but they have a number of good young players there. It's just a question of putting those next pieces in place.
Bill, one of the things too is, I mean, you still have some other D up there that are available beyond Reinbacher.
Yeah.
I mean, where do you have Benson kind of fitting into this too?
I had Benson number 9 in the mock draft that I did.
Mm-hmm.
Benson is a very smart, very skilled player. You have to really think. You have to really be sold that as he gains a little strength, as he makes some adjustments, he has all the tools. He has the hockey brain too. Sometimes when you're on the small side and not the fastest skater, you get marked down a little bit, or somebody jumps over you a spot or two. But listen, Claude Giroux's small guy, not the fastest skater, and there are guys that are good enough to overcome that. So
yeah,
that certainly is that's certainly the decision to make when you draft him. But you could easily justify him at any point from here on. I mean, it's the good thing with this draft being such a deep one is there's any number of guys that, as long as they develop along the lines that you think that they will, and they're fortunate enough to avoid any kind of serious injury, you should probably end up with a pretty good player. This is, you look back in hindsight, compare it to like 2003. Is it of that level? Hard to say right now, but very good. But a very good, a very good draft crop in terms of depth.
Yeah, we see the Arizona Coyotes brass heading up now. First 5 picks so far: Bedard goes number 1, number 2 goes Leo Carlson, 3 goes Fantilli, Will Smith, and then we just saw David Reinbacher go. U.S. being represented well there. Let's listen in there for the Arizona pick.
But I would take Michkov, seeing that he's there. Sometimes we see a run, right? When a defenseman goes, you want to make sure you get one.
I don't know that we're going to get Brian
Coyotes
Smith
with the 6th overall
selection. Here comes the 6th pick. We'd like to thank so-and-so and so-and-so.
On behalf of the Arizona Coyotes, we'd like to congratulate the Vegas Knights on winning the Stanley Cup. We'd also like to thank the Nashville Predators and their amazing fans for hosting us this week. And to all of our fans in Arizona at Wasted Grain in Scottsdale, go Yotes. And to make our selection, I'd like to invite Ryan Janikowski.
The Arizona Coyotes are proud to select from Lokomotiv Yaroslavl Dmitry Simashev.
Weeksy, that's a boy, Simashev.
Yeah,
and what he showed.
I was not expecting that.
He's the best defenseman in this draft, but as he started to, a Russian pick. Oh, okay. Nope, it's yeah. So,
wow.
I mean, the Flyers now have their pick of Ryan, Leonard, or Michkov.
Yeah, I mean, one of those guys is absolutely going to be there. I was not expecting that.
Oh no, and don't sell short on Dalibor Dvorsky either.
Yeah,
2-way defenseman, big and strong, and one of the best shots in the draft. So I mean, he's viable too at 8. And we talked a little bit about Benson, but I'm a little wow. They probably could have traded down for Simashev, but there were certainly scouts who said that he was the best defenseman in the draft, except for the Russian factor. That's always the question mark. But now,
do you expect Simashev to go ahead of Michkov with the Russian factor?
Yeah. Well, he's Michkov is at least 3 more years. Simashev might only have a year or 2. It's not like he's not going to have the entry level contract thing.
Yeah.
But still, there's military service, which players, the Fedotov thing is in the norm. Every player is different. They can do without interfering with hockey, but it's just, it can take a while. And then the thing with Simashev is you're talking about a 6'4" defenseman who is also might be the best skating defenseman in this draft. It's that common. We're just talking about the big defenseman who can also skate. Yeah. But the thing with Simashev is, and I don't say only a shutdown defenseman because everybody wants and needs one. But there's no offense there, at least not yet.
All right, Bill. It is time to decide. You know who's there. You know who's available. Dalibor Dvorsky's available. Ryan Leonard's available. Matvei Michkov's available. Benson's available. Which way do they go here? This has been a stunning turn of events, by the way.
It has. I mean, they're all there. They're all there. If you say who's the most Flyers-like player, and I mean, it's Leonard. But then you have, if you're gonna hit an upper deck home run in this draft, it would be Michkov. Now I'm wondering if Michkov didn't interview well with some of the teams he talked to, because that's one of the things that you hear about him. And sure. I mean, one of the things too is, I think one of the things NHL teams wanted to know, Flyers included, is that, okay, are you going to come in 3 years? Will you commit to coming in 3 years? Or are you going to hold out the right, like Kaprizov did, to re-signing at some point?
Yeah.
So if you're waiting 5 years, or what, that's a whole different thing. If you're potentially waiting 5 years, I don't know if you can.
Yeah. Damn, I'm a nervous wreck here, Bill.
Yeah, this is exciting. I mean, I don't know where they're going. So,
yeah, I don't either. Look, in my conversations with Danny, which everybody heard on Flyers Daily, I never got the sense that they were that afraid of the time period and the wait for Michkov. You heard him last week, Bill, in his availability with Brent Flair. They talked about having a lot of intel on him, talking to teammates, coaches. Ken Hudikoff is, a trusted scout in that area. Not all teams have the same, a Ken Hudikoff there.
No, and
I feel like they're going to take Michkov here. I really do.
I have the feeling, I pretty sure they love Leonard, but again, if you're gonna excite a fan base and you're gonna swing for the fences, that would be your guy to do it with, right? That's he's I think they would be comfortable with any of these guys. I think that the home run swing is Michkov, the safest
away from Washington.
Yeah,
because he's going to go there if they don't take him.
Yeah, exactly.
See, the other thing is, if you draft him, then you begin the process immediately of trying to get him over here. Not only you try and get him over here even sooner,
right? Oh, for sure.
Buy out that contract, whatever it takes.
Yeah, and there's another Russian in this draft by the name of Daniil Boot, who he has the size and very raw skill of Evgeny Malkin. The Flyers are walking up to the podium now, so.
Oh, they are. Let me see if I can get that.
Yeah, we're a couple seconds apart.
Okay, I'm a couple seconds behind.
And he'll make his debut on ESPN. Opening night, October the 10th in Pittsburgh.
Let's let the drama speak for itself.
Keith Jones, the new president. Of course, our boy John Tortorella, second year as head coach. New GM Daniel Briere. Their name Ryan Leonard has been talked about as the ideal Flyer. A lot of teams like Ryan Leonard. He's got muscles in his face. I mean, he's just a man. He translates to the postseason, and we wonder if he'll be the next pick. Here is Daniel Briere. Looks like a young Paul McCartney, doesn't he? The new GM of the Flyers.
Actually. That's a good call. Let it be.
Let it be, bro. Let it be.
The Philadelphia Flyers would like to thank the city of Nashville for their outstanding hospitality. We've had a very good time. It's going to get more fun. I would like to thank David Poile. He was my general manager with the Washington Capitals, drafted me in 1988 in the 7th round. He got a lot better after that pick. Danny?
With the seventh selection of the draft, the Flyers are proud to select from St. Petersburg in the KHL, Matvei Michkov.
Wow.
There you go. The Russian, there he is.
Matvei Michkov is the pick. Holy.
Well,
there he is in attendance too, Billy.
They just swung for the fences.
They did. Wow.
Yeah.
I am stunned that he was there. All the talk about Michkov all year long.
Yeah.
Somehow another Russian goes ahead of him in Simashev, and boom, he's a Flyer.
That's wild. That is wild. So let's talk a little bit about Michkov. He's you're talking, and there's one of them right there on the highlight clips. It's a guy who once scored 2 Michigan goals in the same game.
Not very Torts-like, Billy.
Not very Torts-like, and that's a consideration. He's not known for back checking. You know, he loves to look for the breakout pass. Not things you associate dealing with Torts, but
yeah.
But he has phenomenal hands, tremendous creativity. I mean, he's deadly when he gets a step on somebody. So that's yeah, it's going to be fascinating to watch. We'll see how long the wait is for him, and then we'll see the adjustment to the NHL, because there will be some adjustments.
Yeah. Michkov turned 18 on December 9th. Was born in 2004. Oh my God, can you believe that? He was born in 2004. 6 foot 170.
Yeah.
6 foot 175 pounder. Space for Scott St. Petersburg and KHL. He is now the set. Somebody's got, this is insane. Somebody's got the Wikipedia page updated already. 7th overall to the Flyers.
They were sitting there just,
it's crazy.
They were going to backspace it if they had to,
Yeah, that is unbelievable. Let me bring up some of his numbers over the past couple of years. He's just a dynamic player. Played in 27 games this year at 20 points, 9 goals, 11 assists. That was in the KHL for Sochi. He doesn't have a ton here on his Hockey DB page, but he is a dynamic talent that the Flyers just drafted. And Bill, one of the things that we need to mention about him is he's a Russian. The Flyers traditionally haven't drafted a ton of Russians.
Not many. They picked Provorov 7th a couple of years in 2005.
He was more American than you and I.
2015, they took Rubtsov, so 2016. But they not traditionally. So you took them a new era of orange. That's the most Flyers-like picks would have been one of the other two. So
yeah. So Ryan Leonard still available, and Benson still on the board. Dalibor Dvorsky still on the board. You got to wonder, can we get some action here, and maybe the Flyers get back in the. Let's hear him. He's being talked to right now. Let's listen to Matvei Michkov, the newest Flyer.
I'm delighted to be in Flyers. I have no words. Such emotional moment.
When do you expect to come to the NHL?
Когда нам ждать тебя, НХЛ?
Я думаю, что скоро. Это моя мечта.
Things quite soon. It's his dream to be there.
And what does it mean to you to get drafted to the NHL?
Для тебя значит быть выбранным на драфте?
Это много значит для меня. Это моя мечта и моя мечта Кубок Стэнли.
He says it means a lot for him. It's his dream, and his dream is also to win the Stanley Cup.
Spasiba.
All right.
So with Alex
well, let's make it really clear right now,
Capitals.
Bill. Matvei Michkov will not be appearing on an upcoming episode of Flyers Daily.
No, not anytime soon. But maybe, when it's funny, when Sergei Bobrovsky first came over, did not speak a word. If you hear Bob speaking now, his English is outstanding. So if he wants to learn, he'll learn.
Yeah, I mean, Ivan Provorov speaks better basic English than I do. And I went to Catholic school for a bit. You would never know, right?
Yeah. I mean, Proby was over here by the time he was a teenager, so it's a little different. But yeah.
But Michkov is the pick for the Flyers. And, Emily Kaplan there, you saw on ESPN, asked him the question, when does he plan on coming over? And he said, very soon.
Yeah.
I would have liked her to follow up. My Penn State alum there could have followed up and said, what define very soon?
Very soon. Is it very soon a year? Is very soon 3 years?
Yeah. Like, I'm going to be 6 foot tall very soon. I said that when I was 18. It still hasn't happened. The pick, and I'm getting texts from all kinds of people, buddies of mine. My buddy Gary said, I guess they liked meeting him, because we were going back and forth the other night. And I was talking about, yeah, they're going to meet with him and his family and everything. So I'm assuming that meeting went well and they felt extremely comfortable, because, Bill, you and I have talked about the risk of Matvei Michkov. Yeah. You can't come away with nothing. Well, Danny Briere speaking right now. Yeah, let's hear from Danny Briere here from the draft.
What did he say in that meeting that convinced you that he was?
He seemed to have a really good time. We met him a couple times, and you could tell that for some reason he loved the Flyers. He wanted to be part of the Flyers. We saw it on stage. His reaction was amazing. He convinced us basically in the meeting that he wanted to be there and he wanted to be a Flyer. So our staff all felt really, really good about selecting him.
Awesome. Thanks, Danny.
Thanks, Emily.
There he is.
The third Russian taken by the Flyers in the first round.
Russian. We went through the other ones. Provorov. And also
German Rubtsov,
German Rubtsov, Ron Hextall pick, which turned out not to be a good one, Billy.
But
the Washington Capitals, who the Flyers they probably jumped their pick in a lot of ways, didn't they?
No doubt.
Ryan Leonard is still there. Dvorsky,
let's see who the
Matthew
Caps
Wood.
Here. We'll hang out
Here come the Caps, 8th overall with their first round selection.
The Washington Capitals would like to acknowledge David Poyle's longtime contribution to our organization and congratulate him on an outstanding career. With the 8th pick, Washington selects Ryan Leonard from the U.S. Development Program.
There you go.
Well, there he is. We mentioned this is a man.
Had Michkov been gone, that was the pick, wasn't it, Billy?
I think that would have been the pick. Yeah.
I agree.
I mean, Ryan Leonard is going to be a bear to play against for a lot of years. I think again, you had the chance to swing for the fences. They swung for the fences. Leonard was Leonard's a pretty dynamic player too, but I think that ultimately, Danny wanted to make that big splash. He made that, and it'll be interesting watching Leonard playing for the Capitals too, because I think that's a team that has Tom Wilson. He's not a Tom Wilson type. I mean, he gets compared to Tkachuk more often. I don't even think he's he's different. He's kind of his own player, but he's a fantastic player. But I think we said coming in that he's probably who's the most Flyers like guy. It would have been him. But again, I think you're trying to hit a home run here. So we'll see.
Yeah. Bill, what is the Michkov pick? You're going to write tonight about this pick. What does it symbolize to you? I mean, we heard about the new era of orange, threads of change, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And while Leonard was the guy, like you said, that traditionally that's a Flyer type player. Like you and I have talked off the record, offline about, guys like Tkachuk, Brady Tkachuk, Matthew Tkachuk, getting them here because they're going to be beloved anywhere because they're great players. But, this city really appreciates that kind of player. And they didn't go in that vein. They went for the home run here. And that, to me, kind of shows you that Danny Briere and Keith Jones, this is different. This isn't just bringing back the old Flyers and building the old mold, if you will. The mold has been broken.
Oh, for sure. Usually if you swing for the fences, you do it a little bit later. But I think also, and not that they had the sense of history about it, right? But if you go back to 1990, where if you had that, if you had to do over again, Jaromir Jagr would have been the first pick of that draft.
Yeah.
But there's such a there was that history there where and you can still find it online. You can still find the 1990 Hockey News draft preview online. In there, it quotes Clark, who had just been fired as Flyers general manager, from back during the World Junior Championships. And Clark just said flat out, the World Juniors, this kid, Yager, is the best player in this draft. Not even a question.
Yeah. Owen Nolan went first, correct?
Well, Owen Nolan, yeah. I mean, well, a lot of future Flyers in this draft, but Owen Nolan went first, and then Peter Nedved, who Russ Farwell really wanted, but then Pat Quinn wouldn't trade the pick. He went second. Keith Primo went third. Mike Ricci went fourth, and then Yager fifth.
Wow. The other thing here too is one of the debates amongst Flyers Twitter all season, Bill, was the notion of, well, you need to tank to get elite talent, and look, Bedard was there, and the team that ended up with the third worst record in the league got Bedard in Chicago. So if you were the worst team, there was no guarantee, but you upped your percentage chances, obviously. They get Bedard. We thought Fantilli was going second, without a doubt, all season long. But the surge of Carlson came into play. Anaheim goes there. And now all of a sudden, Fantilli's sitting there for the Columbus Blue Jackets, right? But, the notion of getting that elite talent, if you're drafting seventh, you're not going to get a superstar.
Wow.
Because of the situation, they may have gotten a superstar.
Yeah. I mean, he certainly has that potential. He certainly has that game.
The second best player in this draft.
Yeah. Yeah. At least offensively. He may not be the second most complete player, but in terms of just offensive firepower, game breaking ability. I mean, coming into this year, even from all, and actually, you can go back a couple of years ago when the under 18s were in Texas. I mean, Michkov just lit it up, and for all those years, it was, it was Bedard first, Michkov second, and then Fantilli jumped up this year. All the geopolitical stuff happened with Russia and Ukraine, and he signed the 3-year deal with SKA. So, so there was a little up and down in this year. There's so many smoke screens too. Stuff like you hear, oh, he's an arrogant kid. Oh, he's he's hard to coach. And a lot of that can be put out as well, trying to scare other teams off of him.
Yep.
So I think you just filter that static out. I do think what is a legitimate concern is just having him play some kind of a 200-foot game or better, at least a better defensive game. Because if Torts is still the Flyers coach at the point that he comes over, if it is like 3 years from now, that's going to be a point of contention with those two. That's going to be something to watch, because even though Torts says, if guy is an offensive player, I'll let him play offensively, but he's still got to give me something. On the other side, we got to kind of meet halfway.
Yep.
Yeah. So that has not been Michkov's history so far. He's an offensive player. But, players evolve over time, too.
With the 9th pick in the draft, the Red Wings select
from
Brandon Wheat Kings center Nate Danielson.
There's your center, Boosh.
Yeah.
6 feet, 186.
Character player,
Led the Brandon Wheat Kings in goals.
Iserman type player, Billy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. For sure. Kind of a Canadian version of Dvorsky.
Mm-hmm.
But he plays for the Wheat Kings. Flyers always like to pick from the Wheat Kings too. But he's a really solid hockey player. He's a guy who kind of jumped up in the second half here, and he's kind of a one man. Because the Wheat Kings have traditionally been a powerful team, powerhouse team. Not right now. They're not a great team right now, and he was kind of a one man show for Brandon this past year. Tremendous on the power play. So a lot of times he's matched up against other teams' top lines. Detroit has several picks in this draft, so they're picking a future leader kind of player.
We're coming up on the 10th pick in the 2023 NHL entry draft. Let's give you who has been drafted so far. Let's go to the NHL draft page here, and we'll get you exactly what's going on. Connor Bedard obviously goes number 1. He goes to the Chicago Blackhawks. Leo Carlson goes to the Anaheim Ducks. 3rd overall is Adam Fantilli. The Sharks grab who did the Sharks grab? Why can't I think of it? Oh, they took Will Smith. Did they take Will Smith? Wait, or did Montreal take Will Smith?
No, Smith went.
Montreal
Smith
took
went
Reinbacher.
First Dave taken.
Yeah. I should remember that because Carey Price couldn't remember David Reinbacher either. Simashev goes to the Coyotes. The Flyers draft the Russian Matvei Michkov. The Capitals end up with Ryan Leonard, and Detroit ends up with Nate Danielson. So up next is the St. Louis Blues. We'll see who they select. They have Kevin Hayes there now. Bill, do you expect to see some trades tonight? Let me give you some of the names that are being bandied about. Travis Sanheim, who was rumored to be in that St. Louis deal that Torrey Krug would not waive his no-trade clause for. And also Scott Lawton's a name that's been out there quite a bit. I imagine teams are circling back on him.
I would not be surprised if, particularly with Sanheim, because they're under the gun.
Mm-hmm.
Sanheim's no trade kicks in on July 1st. If you're not pulling the trigger today, then any deals you'll be making be for 2014 primarily. So yeah, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen very soon. And then the question is, okay, if you don't move him, unless he waives his no trade, then the pressure's a little bit off. How do you bring a player back who knows very well that you tried to trade him right before his no trade kicked in? That's very hard to bring a player like that back. It is.
Bill, but that's what I was going to ask you next. He knows now he's being shopped.
Yeah.
Are they under the gun, or is he of the situation now? He gains a little control July 1st and says, now I'll only go here, here, or here.
Yeah, or I won't go anywhere at all.
Yeah, but I imagine the player knows I've been shopped.
Well, yeah,
I would think he'd be willing to go.
Yeah, it's just you have to find a dance partner, and it's hard, right? He would say I'd only wait for this city or for whatever. I mean, right now till July 1st, there is no any kind of limitation on where you could trade them.
Yeah,
I would not be surprised if something happens tonight, though.
Let me ask you, and thinking about the Torrey Krug situation, I'm glad he didn't waive, and here's why, Bill. If they had traded Sanheim, yeah, they would have got the number 1 pick, and a lot of people believe they were obtaining another number 1 pick so they could move up to get Matvei Michkov. They got Michkov at 7. They didn't have to pull any of that.
Yeah.
So that wasn't part of that equation. And frankly, trading a 26-year-old defenseman, I know the contract and everything, and it's less term. It's 4 years less than Travis Sanheim's, but he's also 32.
Yeah.
And I'm not a huge Krug fan to begin with.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm glad that deal didn't come to fruition. I'll be honest with you.
No, for sure. Kind of in the bigger picture here, if you look at the Hayes, what they ultimately end up doing with Hayes in context, said in a vacuum, if you just go, you trade a useful player and you get a six round pick and you're eating half of it for 3 years.
Yeah.
In a vacuum, you go, that's horrible. But when in the bigger picture here, where first of all, the Flyers didn't have to take on a really bad contract that had 4 more years to go on a defenseman who has very good power play guy, but his own defensive issues, being as small as he is, it's very hard unless you're Chemo Timonen. It's really hard being that small and defending against top end guys. He's more of an offensive defenseman.
Yeah.
At 33, you worry about how he's going to continue, the level he's going to play at. He's coming off of a really off year.
Yep.
So how much decline is there? Are you ending up in another potential buyout situation? And,
and he would have been reluctant to come.
He would have been reluctant to come. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And so that's not the best situation very often.
Bill, we look back. History teaches us, Bill. We look back sometimes. We go, some of the best deals in the NHL are the ones that fell through.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah.
Do we have a selection coming in?
And yeah, Dvorsky just went to the St. Louis Blues.
All right, so St. Louis with the 10th overall pick
Craig Berube
takes Dalibor Dvorsky. Benson's still on the board. Is your phone blowing up like mine is?
Oh yeah, it's actually kind of distracting because all these things are popping up on my phone, and buzzing.
Yeah, mine is too. It's not stop here. And again, the Flyers select Matvei Michkov, 7th overall in the draft. If they move Travis Sanheim, I would assume they would recoup a first round pick for that at some point in this draft. And one of the things that's helping this, Bill, is the lack of potency of this free agent class, because it's not good.
Oh, for sure. And so to finish the thought with the Hayes trade, one thing the Flyers were able to do is, because they weren't taking on a bad contract, Flyers were able to recoup about $3.5 million in cap space in that. And cap space is something that can be weaponized. Cap space is an asset. Now all of a sudden, if the Flyers were to have to take back a contract they didn't win, hopefully something shorter term here.
Yeah, more than 2 years.
Yeah, and so you could absorb another $3.5 million of cap space from somebody else, especially you're moving Sanheim, who do a big raise, and now all of a sudden maybe you can leverage that to pretty darn good return here, and not a player who's kind of on the downside and didn't want to come here to begin with.
Yeah, Kevin Hayes' value was not going to escalate. Some people said, well, if that's all you're going to get from him, then hold on to him. Stick him in. I know Carchidi, Sam was saying this. Stick him in a room, make him work it out. That doesn't work. Okay. No. And then trade him at the deadline.
They had all year.
Get moved to the deadline.
No, for sure. They had all year. It wasn't like they had one conversation.
Yeah.
They went around and around and around and around, and they never really kind of saw eye to eye.
Yeah.
And it's not as simple as just sit in a room and work it out, especially because it wasn't a. You can do that better if it's a personal disagreement. This is a hockey disagreement, and that wasn't going to change.
Yeah, I mean, Torts told us early in the season, in one of our meetings, that look, I'm not in the beginning of my career, I would have done everything I could to break the guy. He goes, but I'm not even asking. I'm just asking him to meet me halfway, because he knows I'm not going to teach his old dog new tricks. Yeah. He is what he is, and you're not going to be able to remold the hockey player at 29, 30 years of age. But, you've also determined that he's not part of the rebuild, so you move on as fast as you can. You can't keep it around.
And clearly, and this is not a surprise, I think that Torts put that out right away. There's going to be subtraction, and you could look right away. Okay, who's going to be gone? Okay, well, Kevin Hayes for sure. Provorov didn't want to be there anymore, and so you kind of had to move him too.
And Tony DeAngelo, the next one.
DeAngelo, and then you get to Sanheim's contract, and because of the term, because it's 8 years. I think that if he was on a 2-year deal, and then he goes unrestricted, you go, you know what? We'll try it again this year, and I think that really I think with Sanheim it's a contract driven thing, but I think Sanheim was on the list of the changes that Torts felt that they had to make, rather than okay, well, we're tied in here. So I think you start with those 4, and then any other moves that are made are opportunity moves.
I would agree with that. I totally agree with that. And the other part of it too is, if you are to trade Sanheim for a pick, now you're not taking a salary back equivalent to his. So that comes now. Your cap situation is getting a lot healthier very quickly here.
Yeah, you can deal with cap, and you can bank it. And I don't think the Flyers are going to worry right now about banking cap space, because they're not trying to make some big splash at the deadline. But again, cap space is something you can weaponize.
Yep.
All of a sudden, you can acquire
13.
Yeah, you get much more than you could get otherwise. Those are the 2 biggest things in hockey today that carry trade value. Look at you even just go back to the Ghost trade. Well, why did you have to trade a 2nd round pick? Literally for nothing, literally for no return, just to take them. That's what you can do. You can take guys that other teams have tried to move, or they can't, and you can get tremendous assets out of it. And Flyers have already stockpiled some assets here. There'll come a certain point where you go, our farm system is in great shape, and now maybe we can trade some picks and bring some players in. So, as part of a rebuilding process, things happened, but they've made some big steps already. Just to see how things come together. I think, however, one of the big next phases here is building the blue line, because that's going to ultimately determine where you are and where you are cap-wise too.
Yeah.
Because teams overpay for defensemen all the time.
Bill, if they trade Sanheim, are they going to dip in? They got to dip into free agency and grab a D, don't they? A left side D.
I think they're gonna. I think they're gonna have to. Someone has to play the minutes, and I don't think you have the guys in the system to do that right now.
Yeah, I just don't think you do either. I think you have to find a veteran out there, and a left side guy, and probably maybe a right side guy. You don't have to go crazy here, but because you want your young players to get minutes, but we'll see who was just selected here. Let's go back to the
Tom Nylander, the Swedish defenseman, and I've been hearing for quite a while here that he was going to go ahead of Axel, and so he did. Even some people like Craig Button had Nylander in his top 10. So the thing, and he was really good in the under 18s. Flyers would have loved him, but I don't think there was any chance of him getting down to 22.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Last thing, Bill, and we're going to get off and we'll see. You have to read the commentary on PhiladelphiaFlyers.com, NHL.com, and HockeyBuzz.com on Bill's thoughts on 22, and you'll get everyone's Matvei Michkov thoughts there as well. But now you've got Michkov in the system. You've got Cutter Gauthier going back to BC this year. A great year last year. Had a great World Championship. Second in scoring there in the World Championship. Then you've got some of these young players like Frost Tippett, Noah Cates, who I think came in 7th or 8th for the Calder.
Yep.
And you've got some piece here. Konechny's still here. We'll see if he is. Whenever the dust settles, his name hasn't really been out there as much lately. It's been more Sanheim and Lawton. Carter Hart doesn't look like he's going to be moved. Obviously, there's elements of the pending Hockey Canada investigation there for all of those players involved. So, I mean, now you can see the foundational blocks of a team that can start an ascension, can't you?
Yeah, I for sure. Especially up front. I mean, Flyers have a lot of talent up front, either already at the NHL level or on the way. And we'll see where they go with the second pick here. And I do think now they have to focus, and they have to focus on the blue line. They have good goalies in the system too.
Yeah.
But the blue line, building the blue line it's really the next big challenge here.
Yeah, I mean, you have Kolosov, who knows about Fedotov. You have, obviously Sam Ersson. So you have some depth there. I imagine they will maybe grab a goalie in this draft, but it's not going to be a high priority pick that they do that with. But you got to start to rebuild that back end, especially if you do end up moving Sanheim. What's the next steps in the career arc for Cam York? And then critically too, what are the next steps for Igor Zamula is a big question.
This is now. I think it's now or never here for
Igor,
at least in this organization.
Oh, there we go. I lost my headphone. I keep leaning on the jack and I pull it out of the microphone. All right, Bill, let's wrap it up there. Let's get you to work on the writing. And I can assure everybody that Matvei Michkov will not be on Friday's Flyers Daily. We're going to get him some basic English lessons. We're going to get Bill Murray out there, like in Stripes, to teach him basic, or Russell Ziske to teach him basic English, which, by the way, Stripes came out.
You know who's going to be a very busy man. Well, at least to the first training camp, because Slava Kuznetsov, because he'll be on the ice with the guys. He's a skating coach, but also be doing a lot of translation work.
Yes,
too.
he will.
Pay that man.
So will Michkov be at development camp this weekend?
No, he won't. No.
Oh, that's such a bummer.
Yeah.
Oh, that would have been great. I would have loved guys on him. But anyway, that is the Flyer selection. Bill, thanks for jumping in tonight on draft night. It's a busy night. We appreciate it. Of course, we'll have the rest of the draft tomorrow. Appreciate the time, Bill. Read Bill's stuff at PhiladelphiaFlyers.com, NHL.com, and HockeyBuzz.com. Any last words, Billy?
Just stay tuned here, because there's at least one more first round pick to come, and I don't think the Flyers are done here. So
yep, absolutely. All right, that's Bill Melter. We will talk to you next time. Thanks for joining, everybody. We appreciate it. Matvei Michkov, the newest Philadelphia Flyer. We'll talk to you soon.